exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. The remainder of the day, clouds and 69 with a moderate breeze around 15 miles per hour out of the northeast. Tonight, very light rain and clouds with lows around 60. Tomorrow, raining moderately with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 67. Moving into Wednesday, about the same with a high of 68 and pouring rain. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bill Bird Kia, your local community dealer, is thankful for your support this year and is giving you holiday savings on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia. Just in time for holiday travel adventures, now offering 1.9% APR for up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance America for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $2,165 per month per $1,000 financed at 48 months. Quality is limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/2/24.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Kitchen Designs Group is excited to announce their new location, 7934 Front Beach Road, Panama City Beach. They offer full-service kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, countertops, and flooring. Plus, they also offer cash and carry. Take your cabinets home today. Let Claudia and Marshall help make your dreams of a new kitchen or bathroom come true. Call Kitchen Designs Group, 850-775-4150 to schedule your free consultation or visit their website, kitchendesignsgroup.com. Cash and carry only applies to the Shaker White.
Now open Saturdays, 9 to 2.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullets, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Are you a veteran who served offshore of the Republic of Vietnam between 1962 and 1975? Blue Water Navy veterans and their family members may now qualify for compensation and survivor benefits for health conditions linked to herbicide exposure such as Agent Orange. To learn more, call 1-800-749-8387 or go to va.gov and search Blue Water Navy. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dashed away and intercepted. Ball game. The fairy tale continues.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
And the breakthrough for the U.S.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You're now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida. 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful weekend filled with all kind of good activities and sports. And again, we got to lead off this Monday on the Monday after Veterans Day as a very special thank you to all of our veterans. Again, we would not be doing this without the sacrifice and service that you guys gave to our country, and I'm definitely appreciative of that. We got a lot going on this afternoon. Of course, we'll do some NFL and college football overreactions. We'll talk about the biggest news in all of sports. Well, maybe not in all of sports, but definitely in the world of college football with two hirings. and both coaches, or 2 firings, both coaches coached in the same game over the weekend, and Jimbo Fisher getting fired after a 51-10 walloping of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and then they let go of Zach Arnett. We're going to have Coach Brian Haddock give us our thoughts here in just a few short moments. We're going to take our final lap with RJ Starcevic today at 4:20. Might not be a full segment, but we'll recap the season and find out what RJ is looking forward to for next year, and maybe see if there's any changes that he would like to see. Traffic jam and trivia today at 4:40. Give us a call at 850-215-6290 to play along with us for your chance to win $25 to Barbaritos and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. And we've got some T-shirts that are not necessarily ESPN Northwest Florida T-shirts, but they do have a couple of logos on them, and they do have the ESPN Northwest Florida logo on the shoulder there, or on the sleeve, so you guys can get out and do some advertising for us. And all you got to do is play a little trivia. Then the senior writer from therebelwalk.com will kick off hour number 2. That's Steve Barnes. Of course, we'll talk about Jimbo Fisher and Coach Arnett there. We'll find out what happened to Ole Miss last week. I don't think there's a lot to there's not a lot to discuss there, because it just looked like a good old tail whooping there. And then also what kind of college tradition in the state of Georgia might be ending this season. Then at 5:20, it's the PCB Hobby Takeover with the owner, Todd Mueller. And if you have any questions for Todd, or any type of topics of conversation, then you can text those to us at 850-215-6290 or comment on Facebook. We'll have our local segment at 5:40. We'll kick it off with the best, and we'll save the best for last. High school football, Gulf Coast volleyball, and also a Man Up event right here in Panama City, with the guest speaker being Mark Richt tomorrow over there at First Baptist. That should be a great event for men and young men as well. And if you have any questions on that, you can go to Facebook and type in First Baptist Panama City, and it should take you right there. You'll see that event on their page. All right, 104.3 Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe, but also streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. And you can like and share the Facebook feed. You can go to YouTube and subscribe to us there, and then go to Twitter and give our page a follow. Let's start it off with local here, Brian. Any updates on what's going on in the world of swimming?
I actually do. It's over now, because 3A and 4A had their state championships down in Ocala, and Mosley was part of the 3A state championship on Saturday, and I got these results in. Chase Peterson ended up 9th in the diving, so that's great. So again, Coach Dana took 7 divers total down there, and all of them ended up at state, so that was really cool. 9th in the diving. Deanna Dolis was 12th in the 100-yard freestyle. Mason Gonsol was 14th in the 100 back. Riley Harris was 22nd in the 500 freestyle. And Keith Long actually swam 2 events. He was 20th in the 100 backstroke, 23rd in the 100-yard butterfly. The girls' medley relay for Mosley ended up 7th overall in the state, and their 400 freestyle relay ended up 12th. So congrats to Coach Steve Berdishaw and Coach Hope Smith, and then, of course, Coach Dana with the divers. So very good year for Bay County swimming and diving. Again, we got our state champion last week, and 3A is very competitive, but really good on these kids to get a lot of good points for Mosley.
I'm curious as to what our listeners think. Which sport here in Bay County do you think is the strongest right now? I'm not going to give an opinion or take on that. Which sport in Bay County at the high school level do you think is the strongest? 850-215-6290. Text that in or call in, and we'll read it out, give you a little shout out along the way. This local segment brought to you by Barbaritos, food, community, people. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them the Underdogs sent you. In high school football, in 1R in the first round, the 5-seed Northview beats the 4-seed Jay 31-13. Northview is going to be traveling to Bozeman this week. The 6-seed Vernon gets shut out by Chipley, the 3-seed 42-0. Chipley is going to be on the road taking on Holmes. The 6-seed Cottondale, they fall to the 4-seed Sneeds 46-20. 22. Sneads is going to be on the road playing at Bluntstown. And the 6th seed, Weewa, falls to number 3, Osceola Christian, 27-6. Osceola Christian is going to be playing at Port St. Joe. In 2S in the first round, South Walton puts up 35 points as the 8th seed, and they fall to Walton 63-35. Walton will be hosting Pensacola Catholic. In the 6th seed, Mariana, they fall to the 3 seed, FSU High School. Florida State High School will be playing at Wakulla. In 3S in the first round, Choctaw takes down Columbia 37-14. And in round 1 of 4S, Niceville takes down Nice 56-21. They will be hosting, the Eagles will be hosting Bartram Trail. So it does look like it could be a collision between Buchholz and Niceville. And if that game was in this area, which I think the championships are going to be held in Tallahassee. I mean, that would be a game worthy of going to for sure. Niceville did fall to Mosley, but Buchholz, man, they looked really good in round 1 with a 59-0 win, and Niceville putting up 56 as well, or close to the 59, 56. Good stuff from both of those high schools. The Gulf Coast volleyball team, they are headed to a national competition in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They earned an at-large bid and are seeded 13th in the NJCAA tournament after they lost to Pensacola State in the state final match. The Commodores are going to be playing the 20th seed, Sauk Valley, on Wednesday, November 15th of this week, and that'll be the opening round. And again, the First Men's Ministry having their Man Up event with the guest speaker, Mark Rick. That's going to be tomorrow. It is free to the public. Men and boys of all ages are welcome, and there's going to be food trucks, contests, RVs, boats, and giveaways. And this will be at 640 Grace Avenue in Panama City. It begins at 5. And it's going to run until 8. There's going to be a Jeep show inside the parking lot. And for more information, you can check out their Facebook page at First Baptist Panama City. In fact, I don't think I'm going to end the show early tomorrow because we are ending at 5:30 because we're going to have a doubleheader of college basketball tomorrow. You're going to have Kansas and Kentucky, and whoever Michigan State's playing, I can pull that up and we'll notify you guys on that. But yeah, you're going to have a doubleheader of college basketball tomorrow. It's tipping off at 6, but the coverage will start at 5:30. So I'm going to try to get down there to that event because flag football practice more than likely is going to be canceled with the weather that is heading our way. In fact, we're trying to beat it by getting a little action in this evening. So that's what I'll be doing after the show this evening. Jimbo Fisher, $77 million richer when you round up to it at this point. We talked about it last week. I think you said there's not a high likelihood of it happening this season. I was thinking the same exact way. Like, why would you get rid of him? Why would you get rid of Jimbo Fisher in the middle of a season with the money that you owe him? You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I can think of is they've got someone in mind. What's your thoughts on Texas A&M moving on from Jimbo after a big win? I'm not even sure they have someone in mind. I think there's two reasons to fire someone in the middle of the season. Well, outside of like safety of players or something like that. There's two reasons. One is to get to the head of the line on coaching search. So to get out there first, to be able to bring more people in, to get more people talking about your job, whatever. The only other high-profile job that's open right now is Michigan State, and that's totally different circumstance. The second reason, and probably the more likely reason for why he's fired, is they needed to quell some of the big money donors who were probably doing a little threatening and chest thumping and whatever like this. If it was to the point where they wanted to fire him in the season, that tells me that they were really up in arms, had started threatening maybe Ross Bjork's job, or some of the big hitters might have been threatening the president's job. It's either you or me, and you got to go, bro. So that, to me, is why it was done now. It's not terribly surprising overall. The money is something everyone's going to talk about, and it's worth talking about. But it was never a case of where I thought they wouldn't pony up. If there's anything we've learned about college football, people will pay exorbitant amounts of money for this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, to go to the games, to have the skyboxes, to
you buy the memorabilia to buy out coaches, they'll do it. It doesn't matter. And, oil money high or oil money low, it doesn't matter. If they felt like they had an opportunity to do something better and they had the money to put up to do that, they'll do it. So it's not that shocking. I was a little surprised they didn't put Petrino in as interim, although I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
Not for the crashed motorcycle reasons.
Yeah, no.
But because it allows him to stay focused on the offense,
right?
Which
exactly.
I think is important. It's hard to get around the fact that not only is he going to get $76 or $77 million, there is no mitigation on that money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he gets another job. He's owed that money regardless.
He's getting paid.
So his agent deserves a raise.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm sure that they can work that out.
Look, it does speak to the irrational, reactionary nature of college football all the way around. He got this big bump up, not because of anything necessarily he had done, but because of fear he was going to go to LSU. Mm-hmm. Mel Tucker got the big bump up because he had a good year with Kenneth Walker and the fear he was going to leave. You never make great decisions based on fear. And that's what's happening around the thing. And people are having to pay for it. Now, they got people who'll pony up the money. Great. Good for them. Doesn't mean they're making very sound decisions. My bigger worry is you're going to start seeing issues down the line. There's a story not being talked about a whole lot right now. I don't want to pivot too far.
Oh, no. Go on.
University of Arizona just noticed a $240 million shortfall in athletics or in the university because athletics has been borrowing from the university to prop things up post-COVID. And what's ending up, there's obviously a lot of consternation at the CFO and everything like that, but it's to the point that they're actually most likely going to start canceling some sports in order to make this up. So these things, you start making these decisions quickly based on reaction, based on fear of a donor, based on this, that, and the other. You're going to end up putting yourself in some rotten situations. I don't think that's directly tied to what's going on at A&M, but you're going to start seeing more stuff like that. And it's very worrisome. I mean, that's not an insignificant amount of money, even at the university level. So, whatever, it's what it is. The more interesting question now is, you're Texas A&M. Where do you go?
Yeah, and you got let's just start with Lane Kiffin, because that seems to be one that people are bringing up. Do you think Lane Kiffin would leave Ole Miss for Texas A&M? Is the grass really that greener on the other side? Now, I think when it comes to 4- and 5-star recruits, Miles is one who said that, and so I got to give him the credit there. But I do agree with that. When it comes to 4- and 5-star recruits, I think that you can get them easier at Texas A&M than what you can at Ole Miss. But is the grass really that greener on the other side? I don't think so.
A&M fans aren't going to like this. I don't think A&M is blue blood enough for Lane to make that jump. And here's what I mean by that.
It's almost like a sideways jump more than an ascension.
Look, they have the money. They've clearly shown they can get people, but it doesn't have the long-term gravitas name that Texas does.
Yeah.
They've been a significantly better program for a very long time. It's not Texas.
Right.
It's not Oklahoma. It's not USC.
Yeah.
It's not Ohio State. It's not Michigan. It's not Alabama.
Yeah.
That's the one job I can see him jumping for, honestly.
Alabama?
Is Alabama.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is, I firmly believe, I think Steve talked about this at the time, I firmly believe the reason Lane is not the head coach at Auburn is because his family really likes Oxford.
Yeah.
And at a certain point in everybody's schooling and everything like that, they really wanted to stay. He's got a good thing going there. He beat Texas A&M this year.
Yeah.
He's got a good thing going. Does he absolutely have to take that next step and try and win national championships? Maybe. I don't know that A&M's the jump for that.
Yeah.
I think, personally, he's holding out hope for the Alabama job.
And that would be another reason why you wouldn't take the Auburn job, because that completely nullifies your opportunities.
I think
to
that
take
was
that
secondary
job.
why he didn't take it, but I do think it might have been in the back of his mind.
Isn't Auburn kind of that same jump, like going from an Ole Miss to a Texas A&M, going from an Ole Miss to an Auburn? Like you can compete at Auburn about to the same level, or compete at Ole Miss to the same level that you can at Auburn for the most part. But I mean, Auburn does have a couple of pieces of hardware.
Well, other than in the last 13 years, they've won a national championship and played for another one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Michigan can't say that.
Yeah.
Texas can't say that. USC can't say that. Yeah. So in that respect, you do have the ability. I'm not saying you don't have the ability to win the national championship in Texas. I don't. I just don't think it has that name gravitas that some of the others do. Maybe Auburn the same. It might have been a little different just because of the national championships. I don't know. But I don't know who else. The problem I think A&M is in, so you went with Sumlin, you did what you did. You went with Jimbo Fisher, you made a big splash hire, you did what you did. You're obviously showing you're willing to pay huge money. Are you willing to pay? You're going to have to pay huge money to whoever comes in. Are you willing to pay huge money for somebody on the come up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, here's another guy.
It's almost like, do you need a name like an Urban Meyer? Do you need a name like a Mike Norvell? Because I guarantee you they're on the phone with him.
They got to be on the phone with him.
Which is interesting, again, Florida State to A&M.
Exactly. One more name out.
Let me throw a name out that I don't think is going to excite anybody at A&M, but I'd be surprised if they're not talking with him. Sonny Dykes.
Oh.
He's played for a national championship.
Yep.
He's already recruiting the state of Texas. I don't think it's going to happen, but don't be surprised if he doesn't get in that mix, too.
I really like that one because that one is outside of the box. And when you say the name Sonny Dykes, I think you got to be an older football fan to get excited about that one. But look at what he did at SMU. Look at what he's done at TCU and in year one. Now, is this year something to behold? No, but they did lose a lot, so you got to give him some grace there. What about, and you brought up this guy last week saying you think he might be headed to the NFL. Both of his sons are headed to the NFL in 2025. And they would be the reason I 100% don't think that Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, I don't think that he would go because there's no way that his boys could get over there to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts there?
Well, it would fulfill the type of splash name hire that I almost think they need.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to move on from this deal and you've shown you've got this big willingness, you have to do something to excite that fan base that's just ponied up $70 million to pay someone not to coach.
Yeah.
Okay? So you got to do something. The last name I will throw out, I would have never thought it was even possible before this year, and I still don't think it's likely. Watch out for Dabo Swinney.
Oh.
Dabo may be fed up enough. And he's got enough of a name still.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch out on this one.
I really like that one as well because two reasons I like it. The Clemson stock is up, which means if Clemson stock is up, then Dabo's stock is up, and that is still a splash name. And some people still, even though it's not really a dynasty anymore, but that, Clemson was basically the David to Alabama, the David, David and Goliath. Clemson was essentially kind of that David there. The other thing that I would love about it is then Texas A&M and Oklahoma would be playing, and it would be Dabo versus Brent Venables.
Sure.
And that would be a heck of a matchup. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a quick timeout, take a few lefts. We'll be right back with the final lap from RJ Starcevic.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida this Monday. The remainder of the day, clouds and 69 with a moderate breeze around 15 miles per hour out of the northeast. Tonight, very light rain and clouds with lows around 60. Tomorrow, raining moderately with a moderate breeze and a temperature near 67. Moving into Wednesday, about the same with a high of 68 and pouring rain. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Krispy Kreme is releasing more delicious fall flavors. You're probably asking, hey, didn't Krispy Kreme already release fall donut flavors? The answer is yes. However, Krispy Kreme has 3 new flavors you've never tasted before. Caramel pecan brownie, classic blackberry crisp filled, and the cinnamon latte lovers donuts. All new and waiting on you at Krispy Kreme Donuts in front of HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan. Barbaritos lets you say yes to fresh. If you don't know what to eat or where to get it, well, fret no more. Barbaritos is here to help with its healthy menu, offering 7 meals with less than 500 calories. Barbaritos has lots of healthy options made with farm fresh food. Your health and your family's health matters to us. Come eat healthy at Barbaritos, 23rd Street in the Stanford Station Shopping Center near Academy Sports. Barbaritos, food, community, people.
It's real, and it starts now. Back to the Afternoon Underdogs on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. And we've got Todd Mueller coming up in just an hour. If you've got any topics, any questions, anything about collecting period, throughout the hobbies, they got TCGs, they got coins, but they also got sports cards, which are near and dear to our heart. Any questions, text them to us at 850-215-6290. We did get a response from Richard who says baseball is the strongest sport in high school athletics right now in Bay County. Give us your thoughts, 850-215-6290. It's the daily poll. Now we're going to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. He's the host and creator of the NASCAR Report, and you can find that on Instagram. But RJ, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing too much. How are you? Obviously, most importantly, how am I sounding?
You're sounding good, man. Good to have you on the old landline. Feeling like it's 1990 something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's start off with, since we weren't able to have you last week, give us a brief recap of that championship race and how all of that went down.
Yeah, man. Last race of the year, and kind of like the biggest storyline going into the weekend is that we've never seen somebody win the race that wasn't in the Final Four. Usually the champion every year has been able to win the race. It wasn't the case this year. I mean, for the early part of the race, William Byron was out front. Kyle Larson was out there with him, Ryan Blaney as well. But they were overtaken by a lot of contenders near the front, like Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin was up there, Chris Buescher. And so the championship storyline was kind of just who was going to be in front of each other. Christopher Bell blows a brake rotor early in the race, so he's out, something we haven't really seen in a while, like a championship contender eliminated before the end of stage 2. So it really just came down to Blaney versus Larson versus Byron, and Ryan Blaney surged his way up through the field, surged his way by the Hendrick Motorsports cars after they had a rough pit stop on pit road. He gets the championship victory. And like I said, we had usually the championship winners won the race every single year, but this year a little different. Ross Chastain got himself the checkered flag, but Ryan Blaney was still able to capture the championship. So two drivers celebrating after the race, pretty cool. But Ryan Blaney is your 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champ.
Yeah, good for him. That was his first in the Cup Series, wasn't it?
Yep, his first championship in the Cup Series after his long drought, his winless year last year. That was one of the storylines I remember when for one of our first shows this year, you guys were asking me about, what are we expecting from Ryan Blaney this year? No wins last year, but the consistency was there. So I think it's really cool to see how far that team's come. And yeah, his first ever championship in the Cup Series, and obviously very young star. I'm sure there's more to come.
I know NASCAR fans, even myself, I really like when we've got, 40 cars in the race and everything, but how would you feel if the championship race was just the 4 championship drivers and they each got to pick just one teammate?
That would be funny. That would be cool. I feel like that's something that has probably been up in the consideration before. But it definitely obviously would even the playing field more for the drivers. only being able to race each other and having a teammate. It'd be interesting, like, having the teammate, because then it'd be like, oh, what's the purpose of the teammate? What are they going to do here? What strings are they going to pull during this race? But I think that definitely I'm sure the drivers themselves would love to have it just be like one extra race at the end of the season. It's just 4 drivers going at it, like the original Cars movie back in the day. But I feel like definitely, at least with this playoff system, I'm sure they're not going to really change anything anytime soon. But it'd be fun, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got the perfect spot for it. They could do it right over there in Pensacola at the Five Flag Speedway.
Oh, yeah, right over there. They'll be over there in about a month doing that good old snowball derby. I'm going to try to make it up there for that. But, yeah, that's definitely a fun racetrack. I'd love to see one there. Yeah,
I haven't been to a snowball derby yet, and I'm actually really thinking about getting up there for that snowball derby. So, obviously, we will stay in contact. But if you do end up going, let me know, man, and I'll make my way over there, regardless if you're going or not. But I'll let you know if I'm over there, because I do want to check that out. I've heard so many good things about it.
Oh, no, yeah. It's one of the greatest. They call it one of the greatest, if not the greatest, short track race of the year. Very prestigious. I've never been to one myself. I've been trying the last few years, so this year might be the year. So we'll definitely stay in touch, and maybe we'll both be up there for that snowball derby. Man, that is some good stuff. What were some things that happened throughout the season that really stood out to you? I've got a list compiled here from NASCAR.com, but you can give me yours. Give me what stood out to you through the season. I'll see if we can check any off this list here. Well, I'd say start from the very beginning. I think the story of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning the Daytona 500 for JTG is really cool. That smaller organization, being able to win that race, check that off the bucket list for them, I think was really cool to see. It's always good to see an underdog win a race as big as the Daytona 500. I think you look at the All-Star race, you have to check that off the list. I mean, North Wilkesboro Speedway coming back, everything they did to bring it back. The whole weekend, they had the Cars Tour there, the truck race, the Cup race. I think that was really cool. Kind of another track to check off there, the Chicago Street Race. I was able to be there for that race. Definitely surreal. Literally downtown Chicago just converted into a racetrack. And then Shane Van Gisbergen being able to win that race, and him winning that race has really propelled himself into a NASCAR career. I mean, if he finishes like 6th, who knows? But he wins that race, makes a name for himself, and all of a sudden, next year he's going to be running a partial schedule in all 3 series. And he just said, I think last week, he wants to be full-time in the Cup Series in 2025. And so I think that'll be really interesting to see how that pans out. As far as like drivers, I think Chris Buescher winning 3 races this year, I think was really cool to see. A driver who won the Xfinity Series championship almost 10 years ago. Finally finding his footing in the Cup Series, winning 3 races himself, I think was really cool. And then probably Kevin Harvick send off this year. Obviously sad, but cool to see all the respect, he was handed by all the tracks, his fellow competitors. But, a lot of cool things happened this year. I'm sure there's a lot of things on that list, but overall, really, really fun year in the sport for sure. Yeah, let me just rattle through some of these, because you did nail 2 of them, and I love the Stenhouse at Daytona. I was there for that race, and Buescher with his 3 wins, and of course I know your affinity that you have there for Kevin Harvick, and it's always sad to see those guys go, but that just means another one's coming up the ranks that we can fall in love with as well. But 10 races in 2023 had an overtime finish, and that is the most since the 2020 season where they had 9. 17 races had 8 or more cautions. 27 had at least 5. 15 drivers won a race, and stop me if you want to elaborate on any of these as well. 15 drivers won a race in 2023, making it the 3rd straight season that at least 15 drivers won a race, and that's tied for the 2nd longest streak in Cup history, behind 6 straight between 1956 and 1961. The Circuit of the Americas had 3 overtime attempts to finish the race. That's the most in any race of 2023. Martinsville ended with a 168-lap final green stretch, the longest stretch to end a race this season, and the longest at Martinsville to end a race since the final 180 laps went green in 1989 of April. The pass for the win came on the final lap in 3 races in 23, and in the final 2 laps in 9 races, which just goes to show they're going down to the wire. You mentioned Kyle Larson winning the All-Star race
at the revitalized North Wilkesboro Speedway. The heat races were also the first races in NASCAR history run on wet weather tires on an oval. The 2023 Coke 600 saw a high of 16 cautions during the race, the most out of any race in 2023. You brought up Shane Van Gisbergen, first driver to win in his Cup debut since 1963 when he won the inaugural race on the Chicago Street Course. Martin Truex Jr. led 254 laps at New Hampshire, the most in a race throughout the 2023 season. RFK Racing, Chris Buescher joined Carl Edwards as the second RFK driver to make it to the round of 8. Truex Jr. was the regular season champion, but failed to advance outside of the round of 8 after having only one top 10 finish in the first 9 races of the playoffs. And after netting 3 wins in 2022, Stewart-Haas Racing went winless in 2023. That's the team's first winless season in its 15th season. Hendrick Motorsports became the first team to reach 300 Cup wins in NASCAR history, and the historic win came from William Byron, who won at Texas in September. Talladega in the fall had 70 lead changes. That's the most in 2023 and the most in a race since 2011. And then finally with the playoffs, 2023, the youngest ever championship. 4 drivers, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Larson, an average age of 28 years, 11 months, and 25 days. Which of those stats stand out the most to you?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to unpack there. I think one of my favorites is, like you said, the lead changes in the last 2 laps of a race. Because, everyone looks at, the 1 lap to go passes, but 2 to go, that means it was really, really going down for the wire, and they probably were battling for the last, 10, 15 laps before that. So I think that's a really cool stat to pile out there. I know the last few weeks we had talked about the youth of the championship 4. And that really, you can highlight that right there to really kind of represent what the future of the sport looks like, how bright it is. We know that guys like Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Christopher Bell, who were in that championship 4, are going to be racing for another 10, 15 years. They're not going to be done soon. We just saw how long Kevin Harvick was able to do it at the top level, right? 46 years old, just retired, won 2 races last year. Arguably was the top contender for a title in 2020. So you see how long drivers are able to make it as long as they want to. So the future of the sport is bright. I believe a lot of people talking about the racing improvements for the next gen car. I think NASCAR is definitely very dialed in on seeing what improvements they can make to the racing at different racetracks, but also the safety. We saw what happened to Kurt Busch last year, his career ultimately being ended by the next-gen car, essentially, and then being able to work on, safety issues where it hasn't really been a conversation in the last 75% of the year, which is really, really great to see. So I think a very progressive year for the series for sure. For the sport in general, new tracks we're going to. We're going back to Iowa next year. They're in conversations to go to Montreal, hopefully, in the next few years. So things are branching out, and a whole nother conversation is that electric car they're working on to try to get an electric exhibition series going. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, a lot of amazing stats you poured out right there. It just goes to show kind of what a great complete year it was.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with RJ Starcevic. He is the host and creator of the NASCAR Report. You can go find that and follow that on Instagram. What are some things that we should be looking forward to next year? NASCAR is a lot like baseball in the sense that the offseason, you blink a couple times, and next thing you know, you're racing again. We're at the Busch Light Clash, I believe. What's that going to be, end of January? So not a whole lot of an offseason here. What are some things that we can go ahead and start looking forward to?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely looking around for the Clash, which is going to be right around the corner, the 3rd annual Clash. That'll be fun to see at the Coliseum. I'm definitely, one of the stats you mentioned up there, right, Stewart-Haas Racing had their first winless season this year for a team with 4 cars. Very rare to see in the sport. None of them reached victory lane this year. So next year, everyone's kind of looking who's going to step up. You got Josh Berry, who's going to be filling in for Harvick. Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece are still going to be back, and Noah Gragson is likely going to be that driver in the 10 car for Stewart-Haas Racing. So it's kind of like, who's going to step up? Will that team get the victory next year that they need? I think they will. I think that Xfinity Series title from Cole Custer kind of could give them some momentum, but we'll see. I think that'll be a big storyline to follow into the next year. How will this schedule retain itself? There wasn't really much schedule changes, but We did add Iowa Speedway, so I know NASCAR is working on the short track package. I think Iowa Speedway is a great racetrack to go that can have great racing with any car, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Will the Chicago Street Course work for a second straight year? What improvements will be made to that racetrack, to the racing? And I believe also next year stages will return for the road courses. We didn't have them this year. It looks like NASCAR is going to bring them back next year, so definitely some storylines to watch, but not a lot of driver changes, not a lot of seat changes that we're going to see. I know at Colleague Racing, it looks like A.J. Allmendinger is going to go back down to the Xfinity Series, and Ty Dillon will slide into that seat. So kind of a lot, just some mid-pack changes kind of being made, but definitely some guys looking to make names for themselves. So, and I'm sure those storylines will just brew up more and more as we get through the offseason.
Are there any changes, RJ, that maybe that NASCAR is mulling over right now? Any changes that RJ Star Civic would like to see be implemented for the 2024 season?
Yeah, I mean, the first one would just be, what kind of racing product we're seeing on the short tracks. I think the short tracks is just a staple of NASCAR, and you see you look on Saturdays how the Xfinity cars are able to go after it, and the physicality of those guys, maybe not as physical as the end of Martinsville was. I know we were talking about that finish, but, just being able to get under each other, bump each other around a little bit. We don't see it too much in the Cup Series anymore, so I know they're working on it. That'd be something I'd love to see. I know the series is working on trying to get to Montreal, like I mentioned. They tried it this year. I think it's going to happen next year. Going up to the road course up in Montreal will be cool to see. But they're trying to expand and trying to get to different racetracks. I know Auto Club is going under demolition right now. The goal is still to turn it into a short track. It's definitely sad to see that big track go away. But we'll see what ends up happening there. But as far as drivers, maybe I'm looking to break out next year. Interested to see what Legacy Motor Club can do. They moved to Toyota next season. Kind of had a down year this year, but we got Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek will be on that team. And then obviously I'm looking for Chase Elliott to really come back next year. Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, right? Both missed the playoffs. Both went winless this year. I think they're sitting there, watching. Their two teammates just went to the championship 4, William Byron, Kyle Larson, and they are hungry to get back into victory lane and just the postseason in general next season. So I think there's a lot of drive. The field is so competitive, right? So you got half the field who made the playoffs this year, half those people in the playoffs who may be satisfied with their year, and you just got to think everybody that didn't make the postseason, especially those with powerhouse organizations, are hungry for some wins next year.
Any changes that you would like to see to the next-gen vehicle? Is there anything you would like to change or anything dealing with the pit crews?
Well, in the dream world, I'd love to see more horsepower, for sure. I think everybody would love some more horses under that hood, and that's really just, based on what the manufacturers want, how much money they're willing to put into it, how much change they're willing to put into it. Obviously, majority of the people know you get some more horses in there, especially on the short tracks, and we're going to have some really, really fun racing once you get the cars some more power. But we'll see. I know that's something they want to do, but can they do it? We'll see. It's been a conversation for years and years, adding more horses, so we'll get there. And then as far as just the next-gen car in general, I think adding that and maybe just the road courses, kind of working on the road courses a little bit. I know it was kind of a road course design car. But I think just working on how the cars maybe handles at the road courses, maybe letting them slide around a little bit more. We'll see. But I know the safety issues. So I think at this point last year we were talking about the safety issues. What do we want to see? And that was kind of the top thing that we all agreed on. Oh, we need to fix the safety first. I think it's great that they've kind of handled that. We fixed that. So now we can kind of move the conversation over to, hey, this is what we want to see from the racing side of things with the car instead of having to worry about the safety. So I think that part is definitely pretty cool.
RJ, it was a phenomenal season, and we really thank you for riding along with us and help keeping our listeners up to date in the world of NASCAR. We'll give you a short little break here, but then January, once we're done with the holiday season, it's time to get right back to work, my friend, and maybe we'll see you up there or over there in Pensacola. RJ, take care, buddy.
Yeah, thank you guys. And just real quick, I think one thing I want to add in for the Afternoon Underdogs, I think it's really cool what you guys do. Not many other sports shows out there at all are able to cover sports and NASCAR at the same time. I appreciate that y'all give NASCAR some love. Y'all give me some love. It's great hopping on with y'all every week. Y'all take care.
All right, my man. That's RJ Starcevic. He is the host and the creator of the NASCAR Report. You can find that on Instagram, and he is our contact when it comes to NASCAR. Even represented us a couple times at a couple of different tracks this year, and cannot wait for next year, man. Really, it's my favorite part of the NASCAR season is when it starts, and then like all the middle parts. It's kind of like the opposite of baseball, where for a lot of people it's all right, opening days here, and then we'll get through the lull, and then playoffs. You know, for me, it kind of stinks that NASCAR playoffs are in the middle of baseball or of football season. It's tough to keep up with. But that's what we got RJ for. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with our trivia.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Dan Patrick Show. And oh, by the way, Texas A&M fired Jimbo Fisher. That was after a win, folks. Jimbo, can we see you? You have a golden parachute. We can't get out from underneath that, and I hope you enjoyed that.
I don't understand. We won. What do you mean?
We won, but we lost by signing you to that contract.
It's the Dan Patrick Show. Weekday mornings from 9 till 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
So you've heard the saying that if you love your job, you'll never have to work? Well, it's true.
I've worked for Brock Lawn and Pest Control for many years. The commitment to the needs of customers
and their commitment to each employee makes Brock a company I'm very proud to be a part of.
Brock's core values are also mine. Give people more than they expect and always honor your promises.
This isn't a job. It's a service to help people live a healthier lifestyle.
Brock Lawn and Pest Control. Our family protecting your family.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it so. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 and Panama City 101.9 in Port St. Joe. The Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. And today's traffic jam and trivia question is: Florida State's got a lot of talented running backs, at least 3 of them. But do you know which one leads the squad in rushing? That is a softball from me to you for you to win $25, 2 Barbaritos, a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock to go along with that. Florida State has at least 4 talented running backs, but which one leads the squad in rushing? 850-215-6290 is the number to call. You guys can just play multiple choice. Go look up the depth chart, and you'll land on one that is correct. Now, we talked at length about Jimbo Fisher, Coach, and didn't really come. Of course, we're not going to come up with who they're going to be hiring here in the near future. But also on the flip side of that, the opponent from that game was the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and their coach Zach Arnett fired after, or let go, fired, same thing, after 11 games. And you are a Bulldogs fan, so tell me how, and you just found out moments before the show as well. So tell me, like, what your initial reaction to that was.
Well, it speaks more to how busy I've been, because I literally missed it all day today until walked in here with you. It's a tough one. It's tough to separate the emotional side of it because, I mean, we're not even a year from Coach Leach dying.
Right.
And, look, it was multiple insane situations at once. Your head coach dies before the bowl game. It's in a time where you don't have an athletic director because your athletic director has just left and gone to Auburn. Obviously, the knee-jerk reaction is to promote from within the guy who held the team together through the bowl game and did a wonderful job in doing so. But we're talking about a 37-year-old with no real head coaching experience, certainly not at this level, and fundamentally wants to do a totally different kind of thing in terms of the deal. So to sum it up, I guess I would say this. It's probably the right decision for football. It just seems dirty, to not even give him a year, So I think it's the right thing. It's just rough. And look, they owe him $4 million. What a difference from Jimbo Fisher. Unfortunately, there is mitigation on it. If I were advising Mississippi State, here's what I would say. Pay him the $4 million outright. Let him go get another job, do something else like that. Regardless of what the contract says, pay him outright because he did a wonderful service to the university in the toughest of circumstances. Maybe he's not the guy.
Yeah.
We're in a situation now where you do have an athletic director in place who wants to go a different way. I understand that and probably agree with it. I would pay Zach Arnett outright and thank him for everything that he did.
I agree with you 100%. December 12th will mark a year that Coach Leach passed away. We're going to get over to Keith, who's up there on 231 in the Winn-Dixie parking lot. Keith, what's going on?
Oh, man, just a good day to be a Seminole.
Hey, there you go, man. Tell me, before we play a little trivia, tell me what your thoughts were. Were you worried at all in the first half, or going to halftime, tie ball game? What was your feelings like when you're watching that game?
I'm not sure with this team this year why we can't play in the first half. They seem to turn it on in the second half, but the first half is just non-existent, it seems like.
Yeah, but still.
So, a couple ulcers, but we're getting the job done, so that's all that matters.
That is all that matters, especially in a game like that. You see people commenting after the win, oh, you guys only beat Miami by 7 points or whatever. It's like, I don't know if you've watched FSU Miami, but this is kind of what tends to happen. It's just like in a couple of weeks we'll have the Iron Bowl. That'll be right here on
Florida. Yeah, it'll be. There's always a game when it's a rivalry game.
You're absolutely right, man. The Florida State trivia question of the day. Florida State has a bevy of talented running backs, but which one leads the squad in rushing?
My best guess would be Trey Benson.
You're 100% correct. He's almost got almost a full 500 yards over Toafili. He's got 721 yards. Trey Benson does, and Toafili with 292. So just needs 71 there. But, hey, Keith, thanks so much for the call, and you are our big winner. Just hang on the line there, and Bone Crusher's going to grab some info from you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, man, and we'll give him a T-shirt to go along with that as well. Yeah, I'm right there with you, though, on Arnett, man. You got to wade through those waters, and those are, if you haven't been there, which neither one of us technically have been there, you got to wade through those waters, and you got to try to keep people happy. You got to try to keep players who go from having their head coach there, a guy that they came and played for, and it's not like he got fired. It's not like he quit and went somewhere else. Like you're dealing with a real life subject and the subject of death, right? And so now you got to try to keep those guys there, and also you can't keep guys there who don't want to be there because you're dealing with a sensitive subject matter at that point in time. So you got to sell them on why they should stay.
The more I'm literally processing all this in real time here, but the more I'm thinking about this, it is in a lot of ways similar to Matt Luke, and I'll bring this up with Steve, actually. I probably should have saved it.
Matt Luke and Hugh Freeze?
Matt Luke assuming the job for Hugh Freeze, because I don't believe Arnett or Matt Luke, I think they were fine to be head coaches. I don't think they had a burning desire that they absolutely had to be. Now, Matt Luke's a little different. This was his alma mater, and he was brought in under very difficult circumstances as well. I thought did a very admirable job holding Ole Miss together, and I say that as a Mississippi State fan, but I actually had met Matt Luke when he was playing. He's a really nice guy, and I always pulled for him. But in order for them to go forward, they needed to bring in somebody else. And then, the guy does a little dog pee thing in the end zone. Matt Luke gets fired.
Elijah Moore, yeah.
You bring in Lane Kiffin. Well, because Lane Kiffin gets hired, I think that's why Mississippi State moved on from Joe Moorhead to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
Goes, makes a splash hire with Mike Leach, who'd been trying to get in the SEC. I think Arnett was a similar deal. I think it was an emotional play. A guy who was going to try and hold things together. But I think it became very clear that if State wanted to keep up, this just wasn't the way they needed to go. And, It stinks that it was less than a year, but it was evident. And it's what it was. He got a couple of nice wins this year, which was great, but
he had a few bad losses.
Well, and look, when you have one of the most accurate quarterbacks in SEC history go down, it's never going to be great. But in the middle of that, you've got two coordinators who clearly wanted different personnel than what's on the field that have been recruited. I mean, it was always going to be an ugly season. But when you throw away your best player due to injury, it got real ugly there after Will Rogers went down.
And it's so odd for them, too. Zach Arnett, I guess, was in the best position, but you go from an offense or coaching staff based around offense with the air raid, and then you bring in your defensive guy to kind of keep that going, and it's not a question, or it makes a ton of sense why you struggle on offense when you go from an offensive air raid coach to a defensive guy. I mean, it's kind of like the Saints over there. We get flashes of how the offense could be, but 9 times out of 10, they're struggling, and I think a lot of that boils down to Dennis Allen not really being the greatest guy to lead that team.
Well, and here's where it's worse. You're the guy who wants to change the offense because Zach Arnett wanted to run something totally different. That was clear. All right, that's one thing. So you come in the offseason and you have all that time to do all that and whatever, and you have a whole year and whatever. It's the way it is. Arnett gets thrust into the job, really getting the head job in January, basically, coming out of the bowl. They might have named him right before the bowl. I can't remember.
Still basically.
He's got to go get his coordinators.
Yeah.
He's not coming in with any of that. So you're not even able to hit the first transfer portal the way you want to do to get those guys in immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to run the offense he wants to run. It's another to do it coming out of Mike Leach. It is a total transformation.
And that's another point as well. If you're going to be a defensive guy, and that's, what your focus is going to lean on, like Nick Saban, right? That's that's his thing. That's why he goes out and tries to get the best offensive coordinator, and it really transitioned whenever it was Lane Kiffin. But you've got to get a guy who knows his P's and Q's, and then also dots his I's and crosses his T's.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, of the utmost importance. And I can't even remember who the OC is over there for the Houston Texans. But, D'Amico Ryan's a defensive guy, but that offense is looking really good under whoever the offensive coordinator is. Yes, CJ Stroud helps. But at the end of the day, guys, we got to remember that the coaching staff, it's their job to get these guys in position. And talent can only go so far if they're not in the correct position.
I said numerous times on this show and on the morning show, every time I watched State play, it was evident that what the coordinators wanted to do did not match the personnel they had. I mean, you could just see it. And like I said, that's bad enough. When you take Will Rogers out of the equation and you replace him with a backup from Vanderbilt who transfers in, I mean... Yeah. I mean, nothing against Wright, but he's a backup at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a backup at Vanderbilt for a reason.
Enough said. Kind of deal.
It's not shocking they weren't able to score points.
Yeah.
A little more shocking they were giving up the points that they were giving up. But
could that be because the defensive coach is now trying to focus so much more on offense because they're not scoring?
It's this. It's Zach Arnett was not. He was purposely trying to stay out of the defense and letting his defensive coordinator do it. I'm not sure that was a great thing because Zach Arnett is a wonderful defensive coordinator. He will have no shortage of offers as a DC.
Right.
And hopefully look, guy's 37 years old. He's 11 years younger than I am, for crying out loud. And I don't think I'm that old. So the guy, he's going to get another shot down the line. I think that's good. I hope this doesn't stain him. I don't believe it will because of the circumstance. He's going to get a good DC job somewhere, and big clubs look, because this is a guy you want running your defense.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you because I'll go back to the NFL with that with Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
All right, it's one thing that he only got 1 year, which I think we've got to look at that, right? You get 1 year to change things from an organization that wasn't going in the right direction in the first place. So now I get 1 year to change that, and then my successor is not having success. and he's won a Super Bowl, and you guys were all up in arms about him, and he's not really having a great deal of success. Why should I? And this is a year removed from me, not even a full year removed from Hackett, rather. And, so of course you would think that they would mesh a little bit better and maybe, gain a couple of wins there. But in all reality, it's not. So I'm with you on that 100%. Zach Arnett should eventually get another head coaching gig. We're going to go over to the phone line. We've got Travis over there in Lynn Haven who's on his way home. What do you got on the old New Orleans Saints, Travis? Doesn't sound like you got anything. We're going to keep it rolling. Yeah. Oh, Morse code, a little Morse code action there. Let me call Sam and see if we can get that. Wow. I haven't translated. That's what I was looking
it's
for.
funny, though, just to continue on this with Arnett, I can guarantee you Arnett struggled with whether or not to do this because I'm sure he thought, there's no way this is good for me as my first head job because I want to completely overhaul all of this. It's going to be brutally tough. Like, this isn't the way I want to start my head coaching career. I'm probably not ready. There's a lot of that, but I don't think there was any way he could turn it down if offered because those were his boys and he was going to lead them through that.
Travis, what you got on the New Orleans Saints? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and we've just got about 30 seconds here, so keep it brief.
I think they should fire a lot of people. I think they should fire a lot of people.
Who do you think they should start with?
Do what?
Who should they start with?
Definitely Dennis Allen and keep Carr off the field, especially since Jameis went out there and got us a chance to win that game. I mean, I guess as good of a chance as he could, I guess. And he's not great, but and then he still wants Carr to start. I mean, I know we paid a lot of money for him, but it's horrible to watch this man dump little passes off. And, I mean, I would rather have 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions because our defense can take care of their offense than have no touchdowns and barely get the ball down the field.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you want to give us a call back around 5:40, we could talk a little bit more about this, but thank you so much for your call and for listening, buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that is Travis. He's also got some stuff on Lane Kiffin, so hopefully he calls back at 5:40. If not, maybe we can get him on the line with us at some point tomorrow afternoon. Interested to hear his thought on Lane Kiffin. We did get a couple more votes. Baseball is the strongest sport in Bay County. Got 2 votes for that, and Coach Siegel says wrestling. So what is the strongest sport in Bay County when it comes to high school athletics? Text us your opinion at 850-215-6290. Steve Barnes up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the Paul Feinbaum Show.
If both teams win their conference championships, why at that point would the committee flip-flop Alabama in front of Texas?
The reason they would is that Bama's win is going to be a much higher quality win over perhaps undefeated Georgia than whatever ragamuffin the Big 12 rolls into that game.
Paul Feinbaum, weeknights, 6 to 10 on ESPN Northwest Florida. This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a moderate breeze out of the northeast, a variety of light sprinkles and clouds, and 60. Light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 66. In the afternoon and evening, lightly raining and a moderate breeze right around 16 miles per hour with a high of 67. About the same at 68 Wednesday, and we'll have pouring rain. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0000. 0453.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
The Panhandle's destination for live play-by-play.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John, ESPN Northwest Florida. Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hour number 2 starts now. You are in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher, and we're going to kick off hour number 2 with the senior writer from the RebelWalk.com. That is Steve Barnes. We'll do some barnstorming with old Steve this afternoon, and we'll start it off with some of the biggest news in college football. Jimbo Fisher, Zach Arnett out. Who comes in? So start with that. Why do you think? Let's start with Texas A&M. Why do you think they relieved Jimbo Fisher of his duties?
I think it was a timing thing. He just won that way. He's going to beat Abilene Christian. If he happened to beat LSU, how do you fire the guy on a winning streak?
Right. How do you fire a guy after a 51-point win, too, or a 41-point win, rather?
Well, I mean, this is the first game I can never remember where both coaches played and both got fired the next day or next 2 days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't remember that one. I think it's, different circumstances. I think that State said, we might have moved a little too quick on Arnett, and we need to cut our losses now. But I think that A&M said, hey, man, wow, who can write some checks?
Yeah. Well, what I read about the A&M situation was that their Board of Regents actually was not able to meet until Thursday, and that essentially the decision was made on Thursday, but they did not want to announce a firing going into a home football game, so they let the game play out. So, obviously the 51-10 win really didn't factor. The decision was already made.
Well, I think that makes sense, but I think A&M and State are going in different directions in their hires going forward.
Yeah.
I think that A&M, they want a splash. They want, somebody, they want an Urban Meyer. They want a Jim Harbaugh. They want a Dan Lanning. They want that. I think State's going in a better direction. They want a football coach.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. The only part of it on the State end, they made a lot of people didn't like Joe Moorhead. I was not as far in the camp as a lot of people were, but I think a lot of the reason Mike Leach got hired at Mississippi State's because Lane Kiffin got hired at Ole Miss. I think they felt they had to go elevate and get a name the way Ole Miss had done. Now, I agree with you. I don't necessarily think they're going that route this time. They're going to go get somebody on the come up who's a good young football coach, unless the only splash I can see Mississippi State making is if somehow, by some way, Dan Mullen returns to start.
Oh,
I don't see that one. I see them going straight down the interstate to New Orleans, try to get Willie Forrest.
That's where they should go. I agree.
That one, or go to the state line, get John Summerall, or head over to get Jamie Chadwell, something like that.
Yeah.
Now, there could be weird things that happen, but if I'm a head coach somewhere else, do I want to go to Starkville from where I am? How bad is it? And I tell you what, the one person right now who is just kicking himself, don't you think Hugh Freeze wishes he would have waited one more year at Liberty, and he could have probably had the A&M job?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man, that's a really good point. Someone did text in. James texted in. And he says, just saw this, and he wants to know all of our takes, but we're going to start with you, of course, Steve. And it's one that these are according to Barrett Sally, and it's got Dan Mullen, it's got Lance Leopold, Rhett Lashley, Jamie Chadwell, and Jeff Libby, the OC over there at Oklahoma. If you had to pick from that list, and one of these guys you did name, who would be the next head coach over there at Mississippi State?
Good question. Well, if you could get Leibold from Kansas, that would be a steal.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, the Big 12's, about to die. So he might be looking for an exit strategy. That would be a great hire.
Yeah.
I'll tell you two guys who aren't on any radars right now, maybe not so much for A&M, maybe State, but there's two guys out there that are in really unique situations, and that's Dickert at Washington State and Jonathan Smith at Oregon State. These are two head coaches who've done really good jobs, have good football teams who are about to be left out in the cold, figuratively and literally, in what's going on. I would not be surprised if either of these two didn't make a jump into a Power 5 job that's opening, maybe a Michigan State, maybe a Mississippi State. There's going to be someone out there who comes calling for these guys because they've done a really wonderful job.
And Mississippi State had a pretty good track record getting a Washington State coach.
That's right.
There you go. What do you think Washington State and Oregon State are going to do next year, Steve? I know we got some other stuff that we need to talk about, but Oregon State
they have
definitely
to buy their time.
Buy their time and just figure it out after next year?
I think you're going to have to, I hate to say it, you have to have a redshirt year. You have to sit out and figure out what's going on, who's going where can we fit in.
Does that almost leave them in a better position than the teams who are moving to new conferences in Texas, Oklahoma, UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon? Does that leave them in a better position to some extent with that silver lining type of perspective? Because now they can sit back and watch how all of this plays out. And if they have good years next year, I mean, what do they do? Do they just play each other 10 times next year? I mean, what kind of a schedule do they put together?
Well, that's the AD's nightmare. Who do we play? You're going to have to play, Eastern Washington, Idaho, Colorado School of Mines, somebody like that, just to fill out your schedule. But I think, like Oklahoma and Texas, they sat out their year by still playing in the Big 12. These guys can't do that. And that is just going to be tough. And, they're going to have to play Sacramento State, San Diego State. They're going to have to put together, just a schedule. And I hate to say it for them, a lot of these guys are saying, yeah, I'll play you, but we're playing here. And so they're going to have to travel.
Yeah.
And that's not really good. I mean, in Corvallis, Oregon, you want 6 home games just for your, town's economy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We'll move on from that subject, as I'm sure that will be, or these conversations will be dominating the off season. But let's start off with a big day at Troy this week. It's going to be Larry Blakeney Day. Tell us a little bit about that.
This man deserves the day. He is one of only 2 coaches in college football history to lead a program from Division II to 1A. Once he got to 1AA, he was there for 13 years. He took his team to the playoff 12 of those. Wow. Then he got to 1A and took them to bowl games, beat Missouri at home, beat Oklahoma State at home. Sorry, Brian, beat Mississippi State in Starkville. And, I mean, the man is just, I tell you what, I learned more football from Larry Blakeney working in sports information at Troy for 5 years, sitting in the office after a Saturday night game with an adult beverage and him telling me what went on than I could have learned in any skull session that anybody ever could have taught. And the last time I spent any time with him was at the Alabama Sports Writers Convention in Montgomery. Oh, this would have been 02 or 03, I think. And we're in the hospitality room again. Let's face it, adult beverages were involved. And I was talking to him. I was like, Coach this, Coach that. And he finally said, Steve, how long have you known me? I said, well, Coach, I met you when I was 16. I went to Auburn football camp. You were my position coach.
Wow.
He goes, oh, God, you hate me, don't you? I'm like, no, Coach, I don't. But when I started working at Troy, I was 26, and then I got to work with you for 5 years. And he goes, well, don't you think you've earned the right to call me Larry? And I said, Coach, how long did you know Coach Bryant? He said, I knew him 35 years. I said, well, did you ever call him Paul? Yeah. And he said, Steve, I'm not Coach Bryant.
There you go.
And I just looked at him and said, to me, you are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is, man.
So that man, the field is Larry Blakeney Field at Veterans Stadium. And I tell you what, that man, he is, I mean, DeMarcus Ware he brought in, O.C. Umenyiora he brought in. 3 players from the New York Giants last Super Bowl team were from Troy. The man knew what he was doing. If he had not had that Eric Ramsey fiasco at Auburn, he would have been the head coach at Georgia and probably been there for 20 years.
Wow. And you were, man, that's really, that was a really cool story about the, calling him coach, or earning the right to call him Larry. And it's like, because I don't even know if I call any coaches that I know, period, by their first names anyways.
That is my pet peeve when I hear, like the presser today at Ole Miss, Lane. No, that's Coach Kiffin.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you think Lane, I'm using that intentionally for this one. Do you think Coach Kiffin, though, opens himself up to that with how personal he can be in some of the press conferences?
I think his personality does, but I still think the people who are supposed to be professional should not.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And since we've got on to Lane Kiffin, what happened? What happened to Ole Miss last week running into that buzzsaw that the rest of the SEC in college football knows as Georgia?
Well, the first thing is Georgia's the best team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is Kiffin was right. He's like, we lost 3 offensive linemen. They were 3 stars. We replaced them with 3 stars. Who couldn't start in front of our 3 stars?
Yep.
Georgia would rotate their defensive line and take out 4 5-stars and put in 4 more 5-stars.
Yeah.
That's something else. Larry Blakeney once taught me. There's one thing that wins football games. Football players. If mine are better, chances are I'll win.
Right. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with the senior writer for the RebelWalk.com, Steve Barnes. Jaden Daniels, best player. Is he the best player in college football? And does he deserve to win the Heisman or to be in the running for the Heisman?
Without a doubt he is. Without a doubt he should. I don't think he will.
Yeah. What sets Jaden Daniels?
I tell you what, Brian told me something a few weeks ago. You need either the signature play or the signature stats. What did he have last week? He had the signature stat in the FBS history. And that run, the 85-yard run, show me anybody. Carl Lewis couldn't have caught it.
Yeah. The only thing working against him on that is that it came against Florida in a game that, unfortunately, not a ton of people watched. Now, he's still got an opportunity, but I just think that moment in that game carries so much weight. Where he is doing well right now, nobody else is stepping forward.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be between either Penix and Nix out west.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
It's going to be one of those guys, I think, because they're going to have a lot better record. but I do believe Daniels belongs in New York City.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely get it. And if his stats are so overwhelming, then I think he can still get it. I think you're right. Whoever comes out of the Pac-12, and the unfortunate part is that I'm not. Well, no, we will know. We will know the conference results before the Heisman. Yeah. But there's a guy not to throw out yet. Marvin Harrison Jr. still has an opportunity, I think, to get himself into this conversation because nobody has really stood out there. Keep in mind, he's got the big game against Michigan coming, likely undefeated versus undefeated, 2 top 3 teams. If he has the Desmond Howard moment, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. can get himself right into conversation with each of those guys you just mentioned.
Well, the only problem I see with that is he's a wide receiver, and this, let's face it, this has turned into who's the best quarterback in the best team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That kind of award. And, I mean, Blitnikoff award, oh, yeah, Harrison's got it. No problem. But the Heisman, that's going to be tough.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, that game against Michigan could prove to be vital. And then also another guy, which I don't think he has any chance of actually winning the Heisman, but maybe making a trip to New York. I mean, Jalen Milroe, none of his stats are going to matter this upcoming game. And this isn't me speaking from anything other than 10 touchdowns in the last 2 games. You have a huge game against Auburn, and then if you can supplant the SEC champions in Georgia, you've got plenty of room for Heisman moments, if you will. And it is a shame with the Jaden Daniels situation, because statistically speaking, he's right up there with everyone. But when your team falters a little bit, it makes it all the more tougher. And that's kind of one of my questions is, which quarterback has a bigger gripe with their defense, Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels?
I would say Caleb Williams, but there's a couple other guys that, could be in that conversation.
Yeah.
And they're at Florida State, but what's going to kill them is this week they play North Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to kill their strength of schedule, which I honestly think could keep them out of the playoffs. Just because they're playing, basically an FCS team, they should not be playing. They should be playing, come on, at least play a middle-of-the-road Big Ten. Play Indiana or Illinois or somebody. I think that's going to hurt them, and that's going to hurt those kids. Oh, well, you did that, but you did against an FCS team.
Is that your answer to which conference will be left out of the playoffs? Would it be the ACC, or is there another conference that could be up for nomination?
I think the Big 12, Texas, it looks like they might have lost their running back for the rest of the year. And if they lose to Oklahoma, you got a champion that's got 2 losses. Then Florida State's definitely getting in ahead of them.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, chatting with Steve Barnes. Steve, what college tradition in the state of Georgia is going to be ending this season?
All right, I spent a lot of my career in the smaller divisions, Division II and 1AA, and the first game I ever covered was actually Larry Blakeney's first game at Troy at home. It was against West Georgia. West Georgia has decided to go to Division I. West Georgia.
I don't even know if I've ever heard of them before.
They're from Carrollton, Georgia. Greatest player they ever had was a guy, golly, back in the 70s who ended up playing for the Falcons for a couple of years. But they're going to go to the Atlantic Sun next year. Then the next year, the Atlantic Sun is going to merge to the United something with the WAC. So instead of playing Valdosta State, and last week they played Valdosta State, which could be for the last time, which is stupid, the beach basket game. People love that in Georgia. They're not going to be able to play Clark Atlanta or the HBCUs. They got to play Utah Valley.
Yeah.
They're going to play Utah something else. It's not Utah State even. It's like one of these Utah State, San Angelo State out of Texas. How is this good to move up? They're looking at the money and thinking, oh, we have to be Division I. No, you're better off in Division II.
Yeah, and you know that firsthand with the Troy experience, right?
I know that with the Troy and West Florida.
Oh, yeah.
There's 3 Gulf South teams going to the playoffs that start next week. Something that's kind of messed up is the NCAA, and I talked to a guy at Valdosta today who said, yeah, I agree with you. NCAA stands for no clue at all sometimes because West Florida's got to go to Delta State. They just went there. Why are you playing those two in from the same conference again? Let them, spread it out a little bit.
I agree. That's what we have to do on the show is spread it out a little bit, spread the love. And Steve, we're out of time for this afternoon. Catch up with you maybe later this week because I still got some questions on this list that I want to get to you. But if nothing else, we will chat next Monday at 5 o'clock. Yep, absolutely.
Can I
Go
say
ahead.
one more little thing?
Yep.
Emory Williams, kid from Milton, Florida, is quarterback of University of Miami. Messed up his arm really, really bad against Florida State. I have had a lot of people reach out to me. Milton is my dad's hometown. So people said, how's he doing? How's he doing? How's he doing? Because all he saw him was getting hauled off with an air cast.
Yeah.
Well, he did fly home to Miami on Saturday night, but he had surgery today. Now, it's his left arm, so it's his non-throwing arm, so that's kind of cool. But I have to say, I shattered my right arm, my radius and radius and ulna. It had the plates and all that stuff put in there. There are complications can set in. Since then, from my wrist to my shoulder, I have 12 surgical scars. This kid, I just hope he can come back. I don't care if he's an All-American. I don't care if he's an NFL guy. I just want him to play one more down of football.
I love it, and I'm right there with you, man. Who knows what would have happened had the injury not taken place because they were looking like they were in position. But Steve, thanks so much, and thanks for that update there on Emory Williams. And we'll chat with you next week, if not before that.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, that's Steve Barnes. He's the senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Coming up next, it's going to be the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd Mueller. If you've got any questions or any topics that you'd like Todd to dive into, text them to us now, 850-215-6290, or call in and ask them yourself. We'll be right back.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs. The only live afternoon show in Panama City where you can win fantastic prizes from amazing local businesses every day.
That's right.
4 to 6 weekdays. The Afternoon Underdogs.
It's mayhem.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a moderate breeze out of the northeast, a variety of light sprinkles and clouds, and 60. Light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 66. In the afternoon and evening, lightly raining and a moderate breeze right around 16 miles per hour with a high of 67. About the same at 68 Wednesday, and we'll have pouring rain. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
Hometown Sports Talk from hometown hosts
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back, and you are back inside of the doghouse, riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher, and it is now time for the PCB Hobby Takeover. We've got the owner in the building with us, Todd Mueller. Todd, what's going on?
What's up, everybody? Good to hear your voices and see everybody today.
There we go.
Another day, so that's good.
Yes, sir.
All right, it's Monday, and we're ready to get started. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about today, and of course, we're wanting to interact. So send your questions in, call us, text us, let us know what you want to talk about today, and we will get to it. A few things going on at the shop. We had Super Saturday last Saturday. It was fantastic. We had a good time. Bill actually cried. He cried because he sold one of his most prized possessions. We had a Joe DiMaggio autographed baseball, bat, and jersey. It was a secondary market jersey. It was not an original, framed. And he loved that thing. He's like, can't wait to put it up in the store, can't wait to put it up in the store. And a guy made him an offer he couldn't refuse. So he had to sell it. He even sent me a text with a down frown. So
down frown.
A down frown. Yeah. So anyways, so it was a good weekend. We had a wonderful time this weekend with Super Saturday and with it being Veterans Day. We've been doing a lot of streaming on Whatnot, of course, with our coin side of things and our sports cards. And we're going to be doing even more. I did want to give a shout out to Black Friday.
Yeah.
Now, not specifically about selling anything Black Friday, but about our coin stream. We are actually going to do a 24-hour coin stream on Black Friday. So we're literally going to start at 12:01 a.m. Friday morning and go all the way to 11:59 Friday evening.
Golly.
Yes. It's going to be off the chain.
And how many contributors, how many hosts are going to be on the Whatnot?
So there should be three of us. Three of us.
8-hour shifts?
So what we might do is we might do like 4 to 6 hour shifts with two of us at a time, and then one of us will jump off and someone will come on and help for a few hours, and we'll just keep rotating back and forth. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're super excited. With that having been said, that's what we got going on in the coins. We are already starting our Black Friday specials today. Today. When you walk in.
2 weeks early.
Right. Well, everyone's talking about Black Friday. And look, Walmart did it.
Yeah.
Everyone's been doing it. So we're like, you know what? We'll just start offering the specials now. Why not?
Yeah.
So if you walk in to the shop and look to your left, look 90 degrees to your left, you're going to see a rack full of stuff that we are Black Friday selling right now.
Yeah, that's probably going to be gone by tomorrow, ain't it?
Probably going to be gone very quickly. But we've got a lot of different stuff for sale, and we're super excited. Plus, we're going to have specials going on that Friday. We'll have extended hours on that Friday and most of the weekend. So we're super excited about that. Construction, looking good. Looking really good. Probably within the next month, we should be cut over. So we're super excited about that. So if you guys want to see it in action, come down.
And speaking of construction, something arrived today.
The sign on the building is up. PCB Hobby sign is up. Yep.
On both sides now?
So right in the peak, we're on the center. Yeah. We're on the center peak. We have our big PCB Hobby logo sign and everything. We're super excited about that.
That's big news right there, though. I bet you. Do you have people yet like coming over and trying to get in that door, and you're like, no, not just yet.
Not yet. So that went up today, so we're super excited about that.
That's awesome, man.
Yep, absolutely. As far as new products and things coming in and out the door, I'm going to let Brian shoot on that one here for a second.
Well, a couple things. Obviously, the excitement this week, and we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, is Topps Chrome Update Baseball.
Yeah.
Boxes arrived today. Can't sell them till Wednesday, but the hunt for the MLB debut patches begins on Wednesday. That's when it'll start. And so everybody's really excited about this product. Again, 91 different players. Their debut game in Major League Baseball, they wore a patch on their jersey. Fanatics then took that patch after the game, put the whole patch on a card, and the athlete has autographed it, and it's a photo of them playing in that game. There's only one of them for each player, 91 total. So the chase begins this Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of stuff in the shop, online, different things. Might even be a bounty situation out there for anybody who actually hits one.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to that this week.
And I think one of those just got a lot more expensive as Gunnar Henderson was just named American League Rookie of the Year.
Oh, good news. He won't be in this actual because he had already made his debut.
Oh, okay. All right. So so he's not going to get one of those sweet
Not one of those.
Then.
No, unfortunately not. But, there's a lot of really nice names. All the guys who came up to a certain point. Ellie De La Cruz will not be there yet because he made his debut after their deadline, but guys like Anthony Volpe will be, and Jordan Walker, guys like that. So,
and that's one of the beautiful things about the sport of baseball is because there's a ton of rookies, and there's guys who can go 5 years before they even really get to the show and do anything. So, and make their debut, and then go back to AAA, go back to AA, and you just kind of hoard them for a little bit. And next thing you know, man, you're getting you got some great value there.
That's right. So on the baseball front, even though the season's over from a collecting standpoint, you have this. Topps made the announcement today. We got our first look at Bowman Draft. I have yet to see anything about the Tom Brady that we've talked about for a while, but I did see my first look at a Paul Skeens card. It'll be his first Bowman. Wyatt Langford.
Are they going to have a
Max
duo?
Clark. I have yet to see an image of a Dylan Cruz. So we'll have to see if he made it. We'll have to see the deal with Brady, whether or not he's in it. But Bowman Draft, with the way the draft went this year, going to be a huge product, especially for SEC baseball fans.
They really need to make a little combo card with Skeens and Livy Dunn.
That would sell really well.
It would be like Kelsey and
I was going to say, they just do a quad, multi-sport with Kelsey and Swift. On the basketball side of things, it's about to get really interesting as well because next week, NBA Hoops drops. Now, Hoops is, I don't know an entry-level product, generally speaking, but it's going to be the first NBA product with Victor Wembanyama cards. So that's going to be exciting. And then we also, over on the football side, just got the announcement a little less than a week ago. Remember, we talked about all the goings-on with the NFLPA and Panini, and, well, there has been a stay on the injunction, and so now Panini is able to continue until arbitration is finished. And they have announced Prism is coming.
Does that make it more valuable since that could be one, or not valuable, but more sought after? Let's say that. Does it make it more sought after since collectors could be sitting there? This could be one of our last purchases that we make through Panini?
Could be.
Could be. For sure.
Obviously, it's hard to read the tea leaves, but it could be. But what's exciting is Prism is one of the biggest sets, if not the biggest set out there. I mean, it's not, Flawless and the super, super expensive things, but Prism is seen as kind of the Topps Chrome of football, if you will. And Prism is dropping on December the 20th, just in time for Christmas.
There you go. I know a great place to go get that, too, right over there, PCB Hobby. Did we want to get into a question
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
All right, from Wright State, Chris. He wants to know, this is a really good question. I think I've thought of this, but never put it into question form. Does the monetary value, I think we're talking TCG here, does the monetary value of a card correlate at all to how powerful a card is in a trading card game?
That's a very good question. I would have to say, and look, I'm not well versed on the TCGs, but I would have to say that I believe that is true. So if you pull a certain card, let's say it's a hollow foil, right, and it does, a certain amount of damage, and it's much rarer to use and much rarer to get, the value of that card is going to be much higher in the set. Again, that doesn't always correlate 100%. But for the most part, yes. Yeah, the answer is yes for the most part.
That's interesting. Is there a limit to how many times you can use a certain card, like in its career, or is that just in a game?
Again, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the game side of things. And so I believe there are some cards that can be recycled, so to speak, during the game, and be used and reused, especially in Magic the Gathering. But ultimately, there are some very good cards out there, and there are some very valuable cards in each set.
So kind of going back to Gunnar Henderson, who was just named American League Rookie of the Year, how do the MLB awards kind of affect card values in the sports cards world?
It's kind of weird, I believe, and Brian can follow up on this, that when it's announced, before it's announced and the speculation, everybody speculates on certain cards. So you see a frenzy of buying of certain things, right? And then it gets announced. Well, of course, if somebody misses on that frenzy, then the stuff goes down and it's not as valuable, and as good. But the stuff that does hit, absolutely, their cards go up. And I would think Brian would probably be in agreement with this.
Yeah, that's true. In a way, I mean, we've always compared it to stocks. It's a lot of what the projections of the earnings reports are going to be. And then a lot of play goes in on that. And then when the earning report comes out, you've either got it that it missed target expectations or it exceeded them. Well, the guys who win, they've exceeded them. And so that's where it goes. So definitely a lot of run up on the way. And then the X factor is when it comes to the MVPs, which should be coming later this week. You've got the whole thing with the Topps buyback program, which would send it even further. So, it definitely does improve a player's value in most of their card markets when they win an award like that.
Specifically, I mean, the Topps buyback is a prime example. I mean, Topps is doing a really good job of promoting the hobby using the buyback program, because you get a base Topps Chrome, Acuna, let's say, that is in the buyback, let's say, that's a $20 base card. You get $20 of credit in my shop. So that's important to know, because you may, if you were to go sell it on eBay, you may get $12 for it. But now it's at least worth $20. You know it's worth $20 because you go down to your shop and trade it in for $20 worth of product or something. So it's very fabulous that they're doing that program. Now, the interesting thing about it, though, while that's an interesting program, they also have variation cards, or really cards that are numbered, serial numbered, or parallels and stuff like that are worth even more. And you get even more value for them, which is awesome. But I actually saw somebody break on Facebook probably, 3 blasters, 2 megas, 3 megas, and everything, and never once saw an Ohtani. I'm not saying Ohtani's in it. What I'm saying is some of these cards are actually harder to get. Right, is my point. And so they may even just be valuable on their own. Even if they're not in the MVP buyback.
Where's a place that Ohtani could land that is there any place that he could land that would hurt his value?
Somebody said the other day the Cubs.
You think that would hurt?
I think it would hurt personally. The Cubs. I mean, look. Sorry to all the Cubby fans. I don't happen to be a fan of the Cubs, but I don't dislike the Cubs. It just really wah wah wah. In my opinion. Again, send them to the Yankees. Send them to one of the big boys. You know, someone who gets close every year, like Atlanta or the don't the Dodgers do good almost every year? You know, something like that. You know what I'm saying? But
because if he starts adding World Series to his repertoire,
then it's over.
No, that's Tom Brady type stuff.
I would normally disagree with Todd on the Cubs because they are a national brand due to WGN through the 80s.
Right.
However, if this was pre-2016 and the Cubs still had not won their World Series,
it would be
through the roof because Ohtani could be bringing the series back. I think Ohtani is one of the very few people that I'm not sure it matters where he goes. He's enough of a standout name in and of himself because of his freakish nature, if you will. Right. But certainly, you put Ohtani in New York, I don't think that's going to happen. But you put him there, that's the biggest it could be.
Yeah.
Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers.
Right.
The two places I think he's going to end up, one of these two, wouldn't be as big, but they'll be better for him. I think I've always thought he's going to end up in Seattle. I still think that.
I like that one. Or San Fran.
Do not count out San Francisco.
Yeah, I would
very much.
I wouldn't disagree with the Seattle move, and the reason why is you have people, superstars that have been there before.
Right.
You have Ken Griffey Jr. You have Ichiro. You have some of those guys that it would be more of a probably a fit of who he was. versus the team. Again, can he bring a World Series with him? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great. I mean, he's wonderful, but I don't know. It takes more than just one guy.
That's right.
I mean, it really does.
The Angels showed us it takes more than two.
Yeah.
And then that fact, it takes more than two. Right,
That's
exactly.
Right.
So
That's right.
One more thing. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama has kind of been the talk of the NBA, but in college basketball, which we're getting underway, Bronny James with that on-card auto. I mean, how big is that for not just basketball, or not for just for college basketball, but basketball in general?
It's big because it just brings more light onto LeBron. And one thing that has happened, because I can't say it's happened exactly because of this, but I think so. Look, LeBron, say what you want about him as a player. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about him as a player and this and the other, whether he's the GOAT or whatever, fine.
Crybaby.
Whatever. Yeah, flopper, whatever.
Me.
But he's, by all accounts, been a wonderful father and wants to be very involved in his kids. I mean, he very much wants to play against his son. There's no doubt. But in the card market, LeBron James, for I don't know how many years, has been an Upper Deck exclusive athlete, which means he has not signed cards for Panini or Topps or whatever in I don't know how long, until now. He is out of his exclusive agreement with Upper Deck and actually will have a card in a future Bowman Chrome U. The card has been seen. That is a dual autograph with his son and himself signing it.
Yeah, it's going to be monster.
So that's going to be huge. And so while Bronny James, like he's in the Topps Chrome All-American set that's out now, huge card. I mean, his on-card autographs going for easily north of $600-700. He's probably the worst player in that guy's group. He's not a bad player.
Yeah.
But he's like in the 20s, of national. But he's bringing so much visibility to this crop of athletes. I think it's going to be good for all of them.
Yeah.
That's where Bronny's effect is going to be so big, not just in the card market, which obviously I'm interested in. I think it's going to bring a lot of eyes to this freshman class in college basketball.
Yeah. That's a really good point. That kind of gets overlooked sometimes, just how one player can bring more attention to a draft class and takes you back to kind of that 2003 draft class in the NBA and how heralded that is. But Todd, hit us with a recap of all things going down over there at PCB Hobby.
Okay, basically we have Black Friday deals starting today, so you need to come in. We have a whole slew of stuff already out and ready to go, and you can cash in on it sooner than later. We will have even better and bigger and more specials going on Black Friday. Check our social media posts, at PCB Hobby and all of our other ones. We will have posts about that type of stuff. We're super excited about that. We're going to have a lot of stuff going on, percentages off on certain things. Again, just doorbuster deals. It's going to be nuts. We're going to have some extended hours on those days. And again, we're going to have a big stream going on for our coins on Black Friday.
Y'all go check it out, man. And if you haven't been to the store yet, make sure you go check it out. Just Google PCB Hobby. And once you walk into the lobby, man, I'm telling you, they have all of the hobbies over there. Todd, thank you so much for joining us here on this beautiful Monday afternoon. And we'll look forward to chatting with you next Monday.
Thanks, guys.
That is Todd Mueller, owner of PCB Hobby. This was the PCB Hobby Takeover. Coming up next, it'll be the local recap.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Touched him.
He wouldn't
I wasn't supposed to.
He wouldn't let you touch him where you wanted to touch him.
No. I wasn't going to get where I could get in trouble. This is a family show. I want you to know this is a family show, man. I'm leaving.
Weekday morning 7 to 9. ESPN Northwest Florida.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You are in the doghouse. We just had Todd Mueller, owner of PCB Hobby, in the building with us. Y'all need to go check out his building. They got the new sign up below that. It says coins and cards. If you're a collector of really anything, but especially when it comes down to coins, when it comes down to TCG, and when it comes down to sports card, check it out. And also, they're on Whatnot as well, right, Brian?
They are PCB coins, PCB sports cards, and PCB Hobby, all on Whatnot.
There you go. Give us a recap. I hate to do this to you, but local swimming, give us a recap there.
Yeah, Mosley competed in the 3A state championship on Saturday down in Ocala. Chase Peterson finished 9th in diving. Deanna Dolis was 12th in the 100 freestyle. Mason Gonsol was 14th in the 100 backstroke. Riley Harris was 22nd in the 500 free. Keat Long was 20th in the 100 backstroke and 23rd in the 100 butterfly. And Mosley's girls relays were 7th in the 200 medley and 12th in the 400 freestyle.
That is great stuff. Congratulations to all the swimmers and the divers. In high school football, 1R round 1. Northview takes down Jay 31-13. Northview is going to be playing Bozeman at Bozeman this week. Vernon gets shut out by Chipley 42-0. Chipley is going to be traveling to play Holmes County. Cottondale falls to Sneads 46-22. Sneads is going to be on the road taking on Bluntstown. Weewall falls to Osceola Christian 27-6. Osceola is going to be traveling to Port St. Joe. In round 1 of 2S, Walton beats South Walton 63-35. Walton will be hosting Pensacola Catholic this week, and FSU High School beats Mariana 41-17. In 3S, it was Choctaw over Columbia, and in the first round in 4S, Niceville beats Nice 56-21. Niceville will be hosting Bartram Trail. The Gulf Coast volleyball teams headed to the national competition up there in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They earned an at-large bid and are seeded 13th in the NJCAA tournament after falling to Pensacola State in the state final. Commodores they're going to be playing the 20th seed Sauk Valley on Wednesday, November 15th in the opening round. And the First Men's Ministry is having their Man Up event, and the guest speaker is going to be Mark Rick. That's going to be tomorrow from 5 to 8. It is free to the public. Men and boys of all ages are welcome, and there's going to be food trucks, contests, RVs, boats, and giveaways. And the address for this is at 640 Grace Avenue down there in downtown Panama City. Starts at 5, is going to run until 8, and there's also going to be a Jeep show inside the parking lot. I think there's also going to be some sort of a bow shooting contest. For more information, though, you can check out their Facebook page at First Baptist Panama City. That was your local recap brought to you by Barbaritos, food community people. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdogs sent you. As we go over to the phone lines, if your business would like to sponsor our phone lines and get heard every time, or get your business name out there every single time that we talk on these phone lines, you can text me at 850-215-6290, and we'll take it from there. But we've got Travis who wants to talk a little bit about Lane Kiffin. What's going on, Travis?
All right, so what I'm going to say might be a little controversial here. But I don't know if y'all have heard about this whole fiasco about how he kicked the guy off the team for not calling or texting even when he asked him to come in.
Right.
And a lot of people are really shooting him down. And then, trust me, I'm not a Lane Kiffin fan. But, I mean, let's all be honest here. If I mean, regardless of the reason, unless you are physically unable to touch your phone or anything, or walk, then what job would keep you for weeks upon weeks with you not calling or texting?
You're 100% right there, Travis. So you're talking about the DeSanto Rollins case over there, where he's suing Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss for $40 million. Right. And it's very simple. And this is kind of that separation of big name people to small name people. And I'm not talking about DeSanto Rollins, but the fact that he's over there at Ole Miss gives him a bigger platform than what most people have. If I sat here and didn't communicate with Randy for really, let's just say 24 hours, but we can go to 48, we can go to 72, and we can go to weeks on that. If I'm not communicating what's going on, I don't care where my mental health is at, then he has all the grounds in the world. I mean, he can fire me for anything that he wants to, technically speaking, but if I'm not communicating with you, hey, boss, like, I'm just not in the right headspace. It's as simple as that. And then it was like, well, let's talk about it, and let's go to let's at least continue our communication in this, because not saying anything, you're in the wrong right there. It doesn't matter. I don't care what's eating at you, all of that good stuff. You still have a responsibility. We can't just shirk responsibilities because we found a safe place. Like, that's... And we got to get back to real life here, people. I know we had 2020 and it was all like, what in the world's going on? But maybe I don't even feel like I'm preaching from a soapbox here as someone who's dealt with a lot of these type of things before. There's a right way to handle it and there's a wrong way to handle it. And just sitting there and moping and thinking you're the only person in the world dealing with that, that's where I get so mad at this stuff, is because people sit there and they think that they're the only one. I've been there. Thinking I'm the only person in the world who's going through this particular situation. And it's like, you got to open your eyes, bro, because first off, there's a lot of things that we can see in this world that are positive, and we just always want to go to the negative and me. And it's just like, man, life is so much bigger than that. Sorry, I'm off the rant now.
That was good.
No, you're good. I agree. I mean, I think, so here's the thing, and there's a couple things wrong here, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he recorded a private conversation between him and the coach with the door closed, which I do believe is...
If you're recording anyone, they have to know that you're recording them, I believe.
Depends on the state.
Depends on the state.
And it also depends on where you're at. So if you're in a public place, like, say I'm in Walmart, technically... and I've looked this up, but I don't remember why or what, but technically you can record anybody. Well,
in a public setting, right?
In a public setting without their permission.
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
With when you're in your house or in that circumstance, if he was on campus, like on outside in the courtyard or wherever it is, maybe I could see that being allowed, but he is in a closed room with the head coach, and that is, I believe that's an invasion.
That's another good point there, Travis, and I know Coach Brian is ready to let go here.
No, not let go, but look, so I've followed this one pretty close, and I've certainly had situations through the years. You coach, you deal with things, but what's interesting to me is people are going to hear the recording, and what young people are going to hear is someone being really mean, using some rough words and all like that, because that's what they're accustomed to. If you really look, right, but if you really look at what Lane said, on multiple occasions, what he's referencing is, this is not preparing you for the real world. This is what you're going to be faced. You can't just not show up on your work and not communicate and not do this. That's what college is. It's about that final level of preparation to go out into the world on your own. And the other issue I have with all of this is, look, I'm very sensitive to mental health concerns. That being said, the phrase mental health, the phrase hazing, the phrase bullying mean 90 different things to 90 different people.
Yeah.
They're catchwords, and they elicit a response that isn't based on what the actual situation is.
Yeah.
And I get bothered that too many people confuse being uncomfortable with something with it attacking your mental health.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this situation is.
And I'm going to say before I say this, because if I don't, some people might take it the wrong way. I'm kind of sensitive to mental health too.
Mm-hmm.
I understand completely. Everybody goes through things, and some things are hard.
Right.
But at the same time, that is a man's sport. He needs to grow up, and get with the program. He is a man. It is a man's sport. They say it's a man's sport for a reason, because they don't take crap. They're not going to baby you. And that's what, and it's okay. And like David said, it's okay. I'm sure Lane would have been okay with, yeah, man, I'm not doing good right now. This happened and this happened. Instead, Lane had to hear it from one of the other, whoever had called him, that I'm not ready to talk to him. That's what he said. He didn't say, oh, I'm not right in my head. I'm not ready to talk to him right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, at that point, I would say, okay, well, tell him to not to call, to, hang up everything and go find another team.
Right.
Because I'm the guy that you talk to. It doesn't matter. Yeah. My boss right now, and I thank my boss so much, because I've been sick a couple days here recently and have been having to call out. And, they've been nice about it. But if I just said, hey, if I called, my boss and said, hey, I just, went through something, somebody had passed away real close to me. I mean, God forbid that ever happens, but hey, man, I'm going to miss a couple days of work. But then next week I don't call. And the next week I don't call. I haven't shown up. They haven't heard from me.
You're looking for a new job.
Like, okay. Yeah, I'm in the third week.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
like,
Travis,
okay,
I hate to do this, man, but we're out of time. Thanks so much for the call. We'll chat with you later on in this week. I'm absolutely sure of it. You guys have been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You've been listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to have Paul Feinbaum coming up next until 6:30. Then we're going to get you out to Buffalo for the coverage of the Broncos and the Bills. Kick tonight at 7:15, and the Broncos right now are a 7.5-point dog, total sitting at 47.5. Coach James Hale Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Then we're going to go down to the Nowhere Bar. Then we're going to go down to the Georgia Theater and watch Widespread Panic play. And I tell you what, Brian Haddock, I think he spent too many years in the pool, and all that chlorine has gone to his brain, because there's no way the dogs are losing.
That's a promo for the weekend.
Yeah, cart that up.
4 to 6 weekdays. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. Tonight there will be a moderate breeze out of the northeast, a variety of light sprinkles and clouds, and 60. Light rain tomorrow morning, about the same at 66. In the afternoon and evening, lightly raining and a moderate breeze right around 16 miles per hour with a high of 67. About the same at 68 Wednesday, and we'll have pouring rain. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida.